Good morning, good morning. I hope you're well. Hope you can see and hear me properly. If you can't, if you're here live, do let me know in the stream. But it looks like I'm coming in loud and clear. Let me know if I'm coming in a bit too loud and I'm clipping. But I think this is the loudest and clearest I can get. Every once in a while you get people saying, turn up your volume, human. And other people are saying, it's fine, it's on your end, turn up your volume. So my levels look good. My levels look good. So, hello to all the regulars, Boffin, Peg, Luke, David P. Vero, how are you guys? Remember, like, subscribe, comment, give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. YouTube loves you interacting. That's all they care about. It doesn't matter if you like or dislike my videos or anything, just it does help out. Then again, if you don't like my videos, why would you even want to help me out? So anyway, if you're one of the people who do like or appreciate or can see some value in the stuff I try to offer, give me a like, subscribe, or join the channel. Just be a part of it. Anyway, hi to Karu and who else? Anyway, let's get the show on the road. I'm enjoying my weekend. Had a couple of off days during the week where someone hacked into my bank account and I wasn't my usual self because I wasn't in control, and I had to call up the bank and fill out forms and send them off, and I'm waiting for a new credit card, and consecutive large amounts were taken out on the same day, one after the other, and anyway, it's not fun. But I got over it. Some good news. I had a nice chat with Spetsnaz yesterday, a recorded chat that will be on my chat channel very soon. I'll post the notification here on my main channel. But subscribe to my chat channel, and as soon as it's up, you'll be notified. If you hit the bell icon, subscribe, and make sure you hit that the bell icon where you're notified of every video, not just random videos. Today's topic about talking and honesty, I thought was an important one to talk about in a very, very specific, compartmentalized way. And that is that I assume whenever I go on about communication, talking, being open, communication, and those sort of things, I'm assuming that you want to be an honest actor. You want to be genuine. You want to reveal to people who you are and what you want and your yeses and your nos. And you want to reveal your honest inner world to somebody and not just curate it to them so you get the job or get the girlfriend, because then you have to maintain it. You can fake your way through a job, hold your breath until 5:30 and feel like you're free and normal again, but you can't really hold your breath in a relationship that really consumes you from waking up to going to bed, because even when you're at work, if you're not with the right person, as soon as you see their name pop up on your phone, you get filled with dread. I'm sure many of you guys have been there, girls as well, I'm assuming. But when it's someone you actually love or care about, it's a very different feeling. I always, not always, but I assume when I say the key, the lubricant to a good and easy life with someone and also with yourself is honest communication. Because I've done videos a while ago where when I was single and I was still talking about this stuff, it was when you're on your own and you still have a relationship with yourself in your own head, we game ourselves and we talk from an overly stoic, fictional point of view. Like, if I was in this position, I'd do this. If my woman did this, I just kick her to the curb. But in reality, you're the 5-year-old who's putting on a cape and acting like Superman to kind of protect yourself via some sort of overcompensatory fictional thing that you would do if you were brave enough. But in reality, you never do it, because in reality, you might have an overbearing mother and you never tell her what you really think. You never walk away. You say yes to your family if you don't want to. You always acquiesce to partners, you're always a nice person, or you might put your foot in your mouth. You might be the other kind of person where you get angry really quickly and you wish you could be less angry and control your emotions. And when we're on our own, we think of ourselves as perfect. We think of ourselves as the idealized version. It's like the person who wants to start their diet on Monday. They get really energized about the imaginary best version of themselves. And tying it back to the topic of this stream, communication is essential, but I'm assuming that who I'm talking to now values honest communication as much as I'm inferring it should be, because there's a lot of people that just talk and gaslight people. They talk a hell of a lot. They talk about the weather. They talk the talk. They're confident. They can throw in a word salad in between silence and just keep relationships going with mundane, banal surface chit chat that not just avoids but willfully avoids anything meaningful, willfully avoids anyone getting to know you below the surface, because you might not think they'd like what they see, or you're embarrassed by it, or you don't think there's anything interesting. Your idea of a relationship or friendship or something is imbuing it with a lot of holidays and dinners and fancy this and great sex and all of this kind of, you've got a Hollywood version of what you're racing towards as your ideal relationship. So you don't have the street level, normal vocabulary of, this is what I feel, this is what I'm afraid of, this is where I screwed up in the past. Let me be honest, I'm not really good in this, but I'm trying to get better. That's a refreshing and honest conversation. And that's the kind of communication I talk about. But if you're always talking like a David Goggins, like you're well-meaningly trying to present the best version of yourself or what you both want to achieve, but that's not really who you are. Oh, let's start a business. Well, you're both poor. Who cares, right? Oh, let's both get fit. Well, you're both not there yet. You have to. I'm assuming that when I say communication is where you are now, where you've just been, where you're always stumbling, things like that. Let me just check the chat. If you are here live, let me just remind those of you who are new to my stream, if you're here live and you would like to ask me a question or pose a comment related to this in your experience, and I encourage you guys to, if you've got a point of view on this in terms of honest communication and not just flapping your lips like I tend to do sometimes in the stream, but my excuse, if there is one, is that I'm the only one speaking. But when you're actually talking with someone, I think that's where people feel lonely, when they say, I can't find someone who gets me, who understands me, who sees me. Well, if you're the only person trying to get someone to see you and you won't give them the courtesy of doing the same thing, then what's the point? I really think that if you are not listening and trying to get the other person and see them because you want the same, you want that feedback loop, right? That honest, genuine tennis match going on. If you don't do your best to be a better listener, to actually try as best you can to understand their point of view, and likewise they do you, then you aren't communicating. You're talking at someone and only interested in being seen yourself, not in seeing others too, and not in the way you profess to try and be a good communicator. You're not. You are forcing yourself down someone's throat, and then if anyone tries to creep in your direction, you won't let them near you, and complain about a lack of connection. Because I don't like the word vulnerability because it's a bit too new agey and woo-woo, and it's kind of been bludgeoned to death by the purple head mob on the left. But yeah, I think if we just try and focus on not just communication as a vague general term for talking all the time and not staying silent and kind of being confident enough to talk, being more honest about that and saying that it's not just talking, It's the quality of your communication. It's not just communication. It's the honest quality of your communication with people. Because when you communicate, it's not just understanding and listening, but it's also you need to project and communicate who you are and what you think. You can't just curate your communication to Chicky Poo across the table on a date because you want to impress her. That's not honest communication. That's salesmanship. And you could do it with your honest personality. And some of us have done that. I've done that in the past, where you get to the point where you're good with yourself and you're not afraid and you're fairly confident, but you can still turn up showboating. You can still turn up overly polished. You can still turn up in a suit, acting like a cartoonish version of yourself and overly lexically, like sometimes I do it here, where I'm entertaining with my vocabulary and trying to get to a point of fun where you might be impressed with me getting to a point, if you know what I mean. And I found myself doing that sometimes on a date. And while I am being myself, I am sort of doing a trapeze act where I'm a bit full of myself, and in a sense, I feel like, yeah, she'll be impressed with this trick as well. And you're up here and they're down there. But that's not honest communication. I'm talking the best times I felt, the best times I connect with people or find simpatico conversation or like-minded person, is that I talk on a pedestrian level, honestly, about what I think, and they do the same. And I just try and understand them in terms of where we are and how we speak, if that kind of makes sense. I'd like to know your thoughts on this subject, about the difference between being technically confident and verbal, and having a high degree of verbal acuity. I'm well aware of that. But then I've met a lot of people who are very intelligent, but so narrow-minded and so afraid to even entertain another point of view, that I really don't see much intelligence in someone else who refuses to see another logical point of view because it doesn't sit in their airtight, perfect wheelhouse. You see it a lot with the perfect three-step strategy of the dating world, and you see it a lot with extremists, whether it's religious or people like that. It's been proven by Scientology. But what are your thoughts anyway, if you're in the comments section? Let me see if anyone's dropped some wisdom. Rob, remember, if you would like to ask me a question, do something like this. Add 3 circles or smiley faces before your comment or question. Okay, Karu's saying that my volume's a bit loud and my P's and B's are a bit distorted. Let me try and clear this up. Oh, actually, you're right, Karu. Let me put it down just a little bit. That should be better. And let me get rid of some of the bass. Actually, I can't do that. Well, I won't get into it. I'm going to waste too much time. But duly noted. Duly noted. Actually, I might be able to do it here. Give me 1 second, guys. Think of some questions you can ask me. Put some smiley faces. I see some already. I'll get to them, like Robbie and a few of the other guys here. Just the guy. I'll get to your questions in a second. I see the smiley faces. Okay. Let's see. No, I have no bass on this microphone, so it's not bassy, Karu. So that's on your end, or it might just be my voice. Oh, what I could do is put a high-pass filter onto this. Here we go. There we go. I've put a 100 Hertz high-pass filter. Hopefully this helps. If it doesn't sound good, I'll listen back to this and I'll make an adjustment for next stream. But anyway, you want to ask me a question during this stream? 3 circles or smiley faces. Let me know your thoughts on honesty versus just talking. Robbie says, too many narcissists out there. Sure. I would also suggest don't get hung up on the technical terms too. People have become really enamored with the word narcissist and labeling anyone they don't like as a narcissist. Unless they're being clinically diagnosed by a professional, not just by Karen who has a certificate and is a vegan and wants to help people and whatever. You know, most people who are in the therapy game, in my experience, again, I could be wrong. And if you're triggered by this, I would say that you probably are one of them, where if you get highly offended if I describe generalities, then you're probably the problem as far as I'm concerned. And if you're not, you can be right in your little world. I don't care. All right. Christopher Merkovich says, Kim and I followed you over the years. Do you always talk this much, even within a group registering the podcast? I'm aware that I'm the only person talking here. I have no problem if I'm in a group and it falls flat and there's a long pause and silence. I have no problem posing a question to generate more conversation. I'm fairly confident and good that way, and I can find something interesting even in mundane conversations. So it's not very hard for me to generate conversation, but I try my best and I hope I don't swallow conversations. Whenever I do recorded chats with a group of people on my chat channel, I've gotten better because in the early days, I'm well aware that I nervously probably spoke too much. But other people I've asked, they said, no, you don't. You don't. Like people tune into you, human, because they want to hear you talk. And when we listen back to the podcast, yeah, you talked a little bit more, but you're the host, and so you're directing the conversation. But I don't know if you're being funny about it or lighthearted or serious. I don't think. If the topic's not one of these philosophically oriented life kind of discussions with someone else who is as open-minded or has a rich inner world interpretation of this sort of stuff, I don't really try and force this kind of conversation with anyone. I just agree and I talk on other people's level as much as I can, especially out with family and stuff, because I'd be the only person talking. I'd be talking to myself effectively. And I find topics interesting, but if all I'm doing is talking to myself, then after a little while, I kind of just switch off because I feel a bit embarrassed that, yeah, you're just talking to yourself, human. Just the guy says, disagree to a degree. As long as you got your life in order, you don't have to tell everything about you or your past, which is different from trying to impress, putting on an act. Look, I agree, but there's people that, and I'm not saying you, there are people, I've met people, my ex was one of them, where they acted as though, no, I've dealt with that, I don't need to talk about it. And I wanted to find out about her past and her thoughts on exes and relationships and life and past decisions and switching jobs. And everything was met with I've already dealt with that. I've come through, I don't want to talk about that. I don't live in the past. And there are some people, and she was a prime example of avoidance via intellectual superiority, or telling me and probably herself, I'm pretty sure she believed this too, but as a defense mechanism, not really as an actual true interpretation of her avoidance of not wanting to talk about the past. She was someone that just didn't take responsibility and moved forward like a shark. And anytime you tried to, grab a snapshot from the past or look at history or talk about something in a broad-minded way, I was like, no. Yes and no. It depends on the person you're talking about. And a lot of the guru self-help online, they don't like the gray area. They like a definite answer. And as soon as you say, that's true, but it depends on the person, but it depends on this, they don't like it. They feel like, well, you don't have the answer, do you? Well, they're often, especially in life stuff, especially in relationships, there is no one size fits all answer. There is no, look at yourself. Are you as positive every day? Even on your own, you don't have a partner. There's no one around. You're in full control of your life. You take a week off on your own. You expect to draw that picture, to do a number of things that you're excited about. You end up being lazy, non-motivated. Things don't work out the way you want. It rains one day when you were planning to go out, and you have to change your plans. Life is variable. Your mood is variable. Even with the best intentions and the best plans, your own solitary world in your head, when you're in full control as much as you can, it still varies, and you feel like you don't have as much control as you want. So when people want these airtight, perfect 1 + 1 = 2 answers in relation to life, interrelating with other people in the world, it's like, good luck, buddy. You have to be flexible, and that's when you have to be present and make a decision with the person in front of you and what you think in this given moment. You have to have that speed and acuity of the moment. You can't just rely on a checklist of biblical manosphere quotes or life coaching quotes and take them around in life and impose them in situations. And I think a lot of people, whether it's going into relationships or going into conversation, they've got a smart checklist, and they go in there in a conversation with someone, and they just kind of force in these smart memes and bullet points, and they wonder why they come off weird, and they wonder why they don't connect with anyone else. You learn all this stuff for yourself, so you feel confident and you can pluck them out, but you need to pluck them out in real time and use them in front of the person you're with. You need to use them in front of the situation you have. You can't prescribe the present moment. You can prepare, but you prepare for what you encounter in the present moment. You prepare for the unexpected personality, or this sentence after that sentence after this surprise remark on a date. You have to kind of dance in real time, and you have to. It's a boxing match with all of your training, and now you have to just feel it. You have to feel your way through with your words and your mind, and knowing who you are and how you move and things. All that training is for this moment where you don't really think, but you express all the training as reflex. And I really think that while all the manosphere stuff, all the life coaching stuff, all the knowledge and books we read are invaluable, we chew on it on our own. We discuss it in conversation. We discuss it now. What I'm doing with you, what we do in videos, on comment sections, that's an extension of us processing and understanding the stuff. But when we actually try to dance with someone on a date, pick the right job, find something to connect with meaningfully in the world, we have to do it without thinking. All of that training and all that information needs to kind of work as a reflex. Does that make sense? And maybe I'm waffling. Anyway, and a lot of people I've noticed, they become good at talking, and they've got a great vocabulary, but they're like a performance artist on stage. Like a ballerina. They can kind of move, and they've got a lot of really impressive moves, but replace the word moves physically with lexical moves. They're a what's that ballet dancer? I can't remember his name. A world famous ballet dancer back in the 80s and 90s, and they're impressive, but it's a whole lot of impressive, like sound and fury signifying nothing. There's no content behind it. Who said that? One of you smart people will know who said the quote, sound and fury signifying nothing. Was it Shakespeare? I'm not sure. Anyway, and as such, people who are very, very witty and they've got a high vocabulary. They're very smart. Their brains can kind of switch words in and out quickly to present impressive sentences to you through their vocabulary. I do it in real time now. I'm aware that I do it as well, but I'm having fun with you and I'm still trying to express what I'm trying to express. But there's people who manipulate other people with words. They gaslight people with their ability to kind of pluck out words quicker than you can, and almost like sort of wrestle you with their words before you know what's going on. You're slower than what they are, and they're faster and smarter and wittier, and you assume they know what they're doing and they're intelligent. A lot of people have been gaslit and manipulated by their past partners like this. And if you do this, if you confuse being technically good with something, but there's a whole lot of sound and fury signifying nothing, then you can avoid being honest. And then you can still wonder, oh, as a smart person, I speak well, I know a lot of stuff. Why? I should be smarter than this. Why don't my relationships work? Why can't I find anything that works? I should be better at this. I was like that too. I know about all this male-female stuff. I self-reflect. I think I'm being honest, but sometimes you get carried away with your own ego, and you're on a verbal high. Your mental acuity is sharp, and you're on a date doing a high wire act, impressing them without knowing it. And then afterwards you think, yeah, I was just the best version of myself. Like, no, you were showing off. You were spinning around and trying to impress someone, but you think that was the best version of you. No, that was you in a suit. That was you driving really fast and making a lot of noise and sound, but that wasn't you. Just sitting there quietly and telling the person who you are. Let's see any more comments. It's a tendency to treat everything as an illness. If you're sad, it's depression, or call a heartbreak a trauma. Yeah, I've noticed this in the therapeutic industry today. Everything has a label, therefore it seems more important than the mundane, my ex was a terrible person. They fooled me, they manipulated me, they cheated on me. No, your story sounds better and you get more sympathy, and you avoid responsibility because I couldn't have seen it. They were a narcissist. In the same way where that you watch a documentary on a serial killer, it's like the whole community is helpless because he's some alien force. A person is a psychopath. You're helpless against it because I have no way to comprehend it. They're so different to me. It's like, no, your ex wasn't a narcissist. They were just see you next Tuesday, and you were naive, and you're just an overly nice person. You've just got to stop being walked all over. You've just got to learn to say no to a woman for the first time in your life, and then realize how good you feel about not necessarily telling someone off, but standing up for yourself when you get pushed rudely beyond the limit that you shouldn't get pushed past. It's just very basic, and we can stick these post-it note labels, these 3-4 syllable technical words, and talk about face symmetry and hypergamy, and the reason I can't get a date is blah de blah, and it's all women's fault, and the system and the law. It's just no. Like, try and distill it back to pedestrian conversation, and where we can all similarly fail and things like that. That's where the answers lie, not in making it overly technical and labeling, they're a BPD or narcissist with a covert narcissist personality disorder, and whereas my ex had a overt personality disorder, and mine had was narcissist / this with a sprinkling of split borderline blood. Like, who cares? You seem more impressive, and someone will hang on every word and say, well, it's kind of like saying, well, I got, I had a cold, but no, I didn't have a cold. I had, the flu, or, that C word you can't mention online. Anyway, I'm rambling now. This is an example of me talking too much and not getting to the point. Kara says, for someone that likes consistency, you play around with your audio too much. I enjoy tinkering with things that don't really matter in my life. And also, this is real time. This is where I can play. This is where I can get used to chaos, because there are a lot of chaotic gray areas in life. And this is me safely playing with that. But yes, you are correct. And I know you're being tongue-in-cheek. And what's with the fox heads, Karu? I said smiley faces. Anyway. It's also how important you want them to understand you accurately. You can talk to people, and I'm guilty of going off the trail and using metaphors and getting creative with my interpretation and my explanation of things. I do it all the time with my woman, where she has to kind of say, like, let's stick to the topic, because kind of I go off the reservation. I get carried away enjoying the conversation that I just kind of go off-road, and I lose my train of thought. Even I have to sometimes say, where was I? How did I get here? And no one can remember because I dragged everyone out of the conversation. So, yeah. I know that I would like to make an effort to be more concise, and however tempting it is, not to be too creative with my analogies and metaphors and things like that. But honest communication, I think that's something still very important, that we need to distinguish between just communicating. Because if you're not honestly, in a very normal way, communicating as a human being, but if you think, well, I can speak technically, I can speak from an academic point of view about data and male and female nature and stuff, you lose people. You might think you know more and you're smarter and you're more technical and you're more eloquent. But if you can never connect with anyone, they can never understand your smartness, what is the point? You can't complain about the people you want to be with and have conversations, relationships, or friendships with, if you're off on your own and you're so stubborn that you won't meet them part way. And this is a part of the fairness we have to understand, is if someone treated you badly in the past, it doesn't mean now it's going to be 100% your way and you don't care about them. They always have to think, speak, act, and live their life in your wheelhouse. You effectively want a living, breathing doll. But if you want another person, you have to accept that you've got to meet each other halfway, or part way, not exactly halfway. And the quality of your communication, which is honesty, that's what matters. Not just that you talk a lot, not just that you spend a lot of time with each other, but that it's meaningful and honest. If you still can only speak one way to your partner, but really need to, you can speak with someone else, like a friend or a therapist or something, in a way that no one else understands, I would say you really still need to work on having the courage to talk like yourself all the time. We do adjust, like if I'm speaking to a toddler, I've got the social awareness to kind of know, well, they're a younger person and I have to really not dumb down my the expression of my ideas, or if I want to communicate with a toddler, but I do need to meet them part way, or if a lot, I have to kind of give most of myself to them. They really can't meet me much of the way. They can't put in much of an effort because they're young and naive. But once you start getting older, say you're like at my age, if I'm communicating with a teenager, they don't need to put in as much effort as I do because I'm older, I have more experience. I should have more of an understanding of being able to give a little bit more than they can. But once you start getting into adulthood, people who are stubborn, who aren't honestly communicating, yet demand that you be honest, that's at the frustration of many bad relationships. That was at the heart of mine, where I'm trying to be honest and they might be talking a lot. And I just can't understand why we can't get to the heart of things, why we can't bring it back to a baseline of things are good again. We just can't. We have to leave the conversation because none of us can make the other person understand. So above all else, be honest, be clear, because, what's the point otherwise? There's no point trying to keep the illusion going just to keep each other in a fantasy world for a few more moments or a few more months or years. Yeah, I look back on the past, like I swear, if I had a time machine, I could go back. I could just be more honest with how I was communicating, stay in relationships less, say exactly what I thought instead of being a deer in headlights and thinking the right thing to do is be polite and silent. The most amount of control you can have in your relationships, whether they're platonic or romantic, is the ability to honestly express what's on your mind and get the other person to see it from your point of view. And as I said, if you aren't listening, you're not really communicating. You're only talking at the person. You're only interested in them understanding and seeing you. You don't care about them seeing, being understood or being seen as well. That's communication. Otherwise, you're in your own little self-referential echo chamber. There's a comment, I think it was by Denzel Washington, and I'm sure many of you will correct me in the comment section below if I'm wrong, but he said something to the effect of, don't confuse movement with progress. And I think it's similar with people who just talk a lot but say nothing much at all. Again, sound and fury signifying nothing. You hear the cliche, you say, oh, women are better communicators. I don't think so. I think women on average use more words. They talk a lot, but they don't really communicate much as precisely as men try to. We try and get to a solution. We're trying to fix things, whereas women enjoy emoting to elicit an emotional response, to feel good in the conversation, to be part of the conversation, whereas the communication to get to a goal is more common with guys. Again, some of you will say don't generalize, but to that I will say I don't care. Let's see. All right, any last comments? If not, I am going to read some comments in the comments section. Oh, where's my browser? There we go. All right. Luke says, I've been doing this more and more as I get older, although it does not appear to have served me in the best way thus far. I do know from previous experiences that being dishonest will get you where you need or want to be. Be as honest as you're able and keep those that have proven themselves to you close. What did people say? Right. Okay. Yeah, there's something to be said for not revealing too much of your cards if you're self-aware enough to see that the person in front of you doesn't really care or can manipulate you, or like if you care about something, there's a sore spot in your life or things you're embarrassed about that you only feel comfortable sharing with someone who genuinely cares, and you can sense that the person's a bit arrogant or they're just politely asking, so how are you feeling? It's easier to just say, yeah, I'm fine, rather than being honest and saying, you know what, actually today this and this happened, because that person doesn't really care. So it's not always clear cut. That's why you need to be a bit better at reading between the lines and more socially astute and aware of people you're dealing with. But if you never relate to people, you're never out there and you spend all your time online, you don't exercise that muscle of interpretation. David P says, be honest, share your standards and explain it if necessary, and then them come up to your level. Don't go down to theirs. True. I would say also, if the person's genuine and well-meaning and kind and whatever, they may not be at your level, you may have learnt more in a certain area or done more work on yourself in a certain area, and the other person hasn't had to. They might be fine, but they might be interested, but they might need to catch up to you, or they might need to kind of hold your hand. You might need to share the strength you have in that area. So it depends, again, it depends on the person. Vero says, I'm blunt when it comes to honesty. If you fear the truth, don't ask the question. As long as you're honest and you're not intentionally provocative and rude, but there's some people that are rude and say, well, I'm honest. If you don't like it, don't ask the question. But they're using, they are direct, but they don't give a crap about social tact or being polite. Because if you did the same thing to them, they'd put the boxing gloves up and they'd defend themselves and they'd get offended and things like that. The golden rules are always good. Treat people the way you'd like to be treated. Milenko says, I am honest. That is part of the problem. People prefer beautiful lies than honesty. Most people do, but again, it's up to us. Would you want to have a friend or a lover that constantly requires you to give them beautiful lies because they fall apart at anything to do with truth or reality? What happens if you get sick, or you can't share? There can't be a beautiful lie anymore. It is what it is. It's reality, and basically they can't deal with it. I would say that if we're better at expressing ourselves, you can be polite. You know what words to use. You can modify your words while still expressing the same sentiments, but you can modify the words given the situation. That's the beauty of language that I find, and the beauty of having more and more honest conversations where you know how to kind of have the skill to adjust while still expressing exactly what you think and who you are. So it's not a matter of you don't express yourself and you have to be another person to accommodate other people. Yes and no, but you don't have to lie. You don't have to impress, or, not as much as people think anyway. All right, any last questions? If anybody is here in the comments. I'll see if there's any questions left here. Last week's stream, I did a stream about what women don't bring to the table, and women can use this as well, what a man doesn't bring to the table, because everyone goes on about what do men bring to the table? What do women bring to the table? Everyone wants extra. But what's the point of, your partner is a sewer, and then you want them to bring a beautiful silk robe and a beautiful, you're still putting it in a sewer. You want a great place to build your foundations. So I think it's much more important to really acknowledge that this person doesn't come with this baggage or a lack of complaining, a lack of anger, before you start adding on extras. Because if a person is a complete mess and you think, well, that's just the way men and women are, let me see if I can compensate for a terrible person with the additions of, and women do this very commonly, they will get a rich guy, high status, confident, all this stuff. It doesn't matter how rude he is, how bad he treats them, how antisocial, how all these terrible qualities, but they add on stuff to compensate for basic human qualities that anyone would say, yeah, that's a solid foundation for a person, a human being with which to have a relationship with. Then you go ahead and find out if they're compatible with you. But if this person is a pile of shit and you're just trying to add beautiful things to the pile of shit to make it seem better, what do they say? You can't put silk on a pig and turn it into whatever. I don't know what the saying is, but you can't spray your favorite deodorant on a turd and then it's like something else. You can't add. You have to. It needs to be clean. It needs to kind of simplistically be exactly what great foundations of a relationship can have a starting point from. So I don't think that's talked about enough. And there were some comments on that. What a person doesn't bring to the table is vitally important. I would say even more important than your additions that you're very eager to add. People are always running to see what else they can do. It's like shopping. What can I buy next? What can I get next? But hang on, look, just as Peterson said, clean your room first. Make sure it doesn't come with a lot of garbage, and then start adding things. It reminds me when I changed my life in my early 40s. I left the job and everything. I've talked about this with you guys before, so I won't belabor the point and repeat what the story. But basically, I kind of cleaned my life. It was basically an empty room, and now I was going to add things in only that suited me. I didn't have a mess of a life and then just start to add things. And you think by adding things, you'll kind of push the bad things out of your life. No, it doesn't work that way. You just become more and more claustrophobic. You can't keep an eye on all of these things. A lot of stuff from the past doesn't belong. I was talking about this with Spetsnaz last night, where I've got books on my shelf that meant something to me 10 years ago. They were like Finding Religion. That was a great book. The author said some life-changing things, and I keep it on the shelf, and I'm never going to read it again, but I'll never let go of it. And it's like, there's no reason why I shouldn't. Anyway, that's off topic. But in terms of this topic, paying attention to what a partner doesn't come to the table with. They're a great slate by which to see if you can move forward with them, because they don't have baggage or negative traits. Then you can sort of see what extra bonus things they have. Because if they don't have any negativity and they're a compatible good person, everything else is a bonus. Like, you've got a great chance of this thing lasting. Most people's problems is they don't care about what the person doesn't come with. They think, I think some people think because I'm flawed, I expect everyone else to be flawed, and I'll excuse everyone else's shortcomings because I'd like everyone to excuse mine as well. And unfortunately, we can't have that attitude, because more and more people just come with a lot of baggage, and none of us feel like we need to improve. We think we're perfect little angels. David P says, my girlfriend doesn't bring drama, complaints, negativity, or a bad attitude, and I let her know I appreciate it frequently. Giving positive affirmation seems to work for us rather than telling her, don't do X. I acknowledge and compliment her when she does something pleasing. That's a good point, actually. I think businesses learned that long ago. Rather than telling your employees that where they do anything wrong, praise them when they do something right, and they'll be more willing to do more and be a better person, and you have a better relationship with your employees. And similarly with your partner, you don't just, reprimand them. That's the only time you get animated with them, is when they screw up. It reminds me of kids who have parents where the only time they put their hand on them to feel anything from their parent is when they do something wrong. And then they, in psychological terms, it's known as stroking. If a kid isn't stroked and complimented in a good way, in a positive way, if their parents don't touch them, look at them, and they ignore them, the kids will try and get attention and touch in any way possible, even in the worst ways possible, by aggravating their parents and doing the wrong thing. The last thing you want to do is just, what David said is like true. You should tell your friends when you appreciate them. You should say thank you. You should tell your partner when you appreciate them, when they look nice, when they do something for you, when they pick you up, when they help you out. I think we're a bit too stoic, and we think, well, we'll keep them in their place. We'll manage them with fear, like a lot of the manosphere sort of stuff. Like, you never tell her she's beautiful, because then she'll think too well of herself. You want to keep her down here, fellas. You're the prize. You're up here. Like, make her feel like she's nothing compared to you. It's like, yeah, okay. Go out with a dog. Do you enjoy being treated like that? Oh, but that's different. Some things don't have anything to do with the difference of gender. All they are is ways of treating another person. That's all they are. There are some things that are just biologically different between men and women. I'll acknowledge that. And there are some ways that you can manipulate a woman more than you can manipulate a man because of her biology. You can control her in certain ways, but then what's your relationship going to be with her? I could control my woman by trying to keep her in my frame and doing everything the popular dating coaches tell me, but I won't have much fun in my relationship. I won't have good conversations. I won't be able to intelligently rely on my partner because she's somewhere between a dog and my daughter in concept. So I'm basically going around with a toddler or a pet. I'm essentially alone with some sort of thing tagging along with me that I can't rely on. You might as well just be on your own for real. All right. Any last comments? And I think we'll wrap today's stream up. How long have we been going for? Nearly an hour. I am going to end the stream under an hour. This is a first for a long time, actually. I came across a YouTube channel last week or the week before, and I admired them, not because it was anything out of the ordinary. Their live stream section, their tab, every single live stream was under half an hour. It's like one was 15 minutes, one was 40 minutes. And I think, yeah, that's better to do. Just jump on, hang out with them on one topic and try and do it more frequently rather than kind of coming online and presenting your PhD thesis on a topic and rambling. I might as well reserve that for your recorded chats, human. But when you come on live streams, relax a little bit. Anyway, any last comments? Give the channel a like, subscribe, join the channel. Give me a thumbs up or thumbs down. It helps out. If you have a microphone, jump on Discord, not on Discord, on Gilded with a whole bunch of the other guys. I'll try and jump on a bit later if you guys are still on. A few of you jump on and have a nice conversation. It's open 24/7. So any time of the day, wherever you are around the world, jump on my Gilded server. Even just like click on the chat room, just hang out there and wait for someone to come up, because people pop in every now and then, because you can go onto my Gilded server, see no one there, and then just click off. But if you are doing stuff on the computer, feel free to just log in there, your avatar. And if you're doing other things, just hang out there and wait for someone to show up, because it is open 24/7. So anyway, I might pop in later on. Thank you for showing up. Happy Sunday for you in the who are in Australia. For you in the US, it's probably Saturday night. And wherever else you are in the world, like Europe, I think it's really early morning. It's about 5 a.m. in the morning or something like that. Anyway, I will catch you later on Gilded or next time in a video or a stream. And yeah, I'll catch you later. Bye. Have fun.